much. It's wonderful to be here with the ANCA family. I feel I've been adopted, and while I'm not an Armenian, and most of my colleagues are not Armenian, we are related through the Christian faith, and that's a very, very strong bond and binds us to the Armenians. And I must begin by giving a thank you to Ocean, to Kevork, to Garan. They have been wonderful hosts. They've taken care of me, made sure that I got here on time. I must also express a heartfelt word of appreciation to Aram Hamparian and his great ANCA team in Washington, D.C. It's a very long way away. They're doing a fantastic job, and I can bear witness to it. ANCA is a unique Armenian-American institution. It's one with deep roots in the community here in the USA and strong historic bonds with Armenia. It's therefore a great honor to stand before you today, an honor for me and for the exceptional international institution over which I have the privilege to preside. That is Christian Solidarity International, otherwise known as CSI. And I must here pay tribute to several colleagues who are not here. The founder of CSI, Pastor Hans Stuckelberger, a Swiss Reformed pastor, who said in 1990, "We must act on Karabakh. We must." And we did. A wonderful colleague, Gunnar Wiewald, who went many times to Karabakh in the darkest days of the First War. And then a young colleague, Joel Veldkamp, who's the new generation of advocates for Armenia and the Karabakhis within CSI. Our special relationship with Armenia goes back to the collapse of the Soviet Union. What is now the Third Republic of Armenia was just coming into existence, but the euphoria surrounding that development was tempered by the ethno-religious cleansing of Armenian Christians from Sumgait in Baku, and the beginning of the grisly process in Artsakh itself. There in Artsakh, as opposed to Sumgait in Baku, Armenian resistance was strong, and many communities were protected by the brave fighters there. At that time, I providentially met Lady Cox at a conference in what was still then called Leningrad. I asked her to join a CSI fact-finding visit to Artsakh. She had already been there on a visit organized by the Andrei Sakharov Circle in Moscow, which included the great Karabakh champion Zori Balyan. Thereafter, she always carried the people of Artsakh in her heart, and still does today, notwithstanding health challenges that prevents her from traveling. We undertook in 1991 the first CSI mission to Artsakh, then under blockade by the USSR, Turkey, and Azerbaijan. We found there no UN, no Red Cross, no USAID, nor any other state-sponsored humanitarian relief organizations. The people of Artsakh were left alone. Dr. Martirosyan, the surgeon at the hospital in Stepanakert, had to amputate limbs of the wounded with only the local brandy to diminish the pain. Many perished from gangrene. The largely ruined hospital did not even have aspirin. We spent hours in the cellars of Stepanakert together with the local population as Azerbaijan bombed the city with Grud missiles. And it's those wonderful people in those cellars that really encouraged us to move forward and carry on, not to be downcast, but to share in their spirit and continue the fight. We went back over and over again. Lady Cox and I wrote an extended report entitled Ethnic Cleansing in Progress, War in Nagorno-Karabakh. It placed the ethno-religious cleansing of Artsakh in the context of an ongoing process of Armenian genocide, one that did not end with the First World War. What began as human rights fact-finding and advocacy visits turned into repeated humanitarian aid missions, with a special emphasis on medical support. The outstanding Lady Cox Rehabilitation Center, once in Stepanakert, but now serving the displaced people of Artsakh and Yerevan, stands as a monument to to those early CSI humanitarian initiatives. The ethno-religious cleansing of Artsakh came to an end with the ceasefire of 1994. It seemed Artsakh could stand on its own 2 feet, but it was not to be. In 2020, the ethno-religious cleansing resumed and was finally completed in 2023, following a 9-month blockade, a blockade that was designed to starve the people into submission. Seeing Artsakh again facing an existential threat, CSI again stepped into the breach to put Christian solidarity into practice. CSI continues today to campaign for the right of the people of Artsakh to return to their homes and to live in peace and dignity with their full human rights secured. We also campaign for the release of the Armenian Christian hostages held by the Aliyev dictatorship in Baku. While CSI initially engaged with the Armenian nation because of the existential threat facing Artsakh, we now witness the tragic emergence of an existential threat to the Armenian Republic itself. Azerbaijan occupies swathes of Armenian territory. It claims ownership rights of the whole of Armenia, which it openly calls West Azerbaijan. It demands changes to the Armenian constitution. It insists on the submission of the Armenian Apostolic Church, which it openly accuses of standing as a barrier to peace. One by one, we see Azerbaijan's demands being met as preconditions for the signing of a capitulation treaty. Among the most disturbing of the recent concessions to Azerbaijan's demands are the arrest and imprisonment of Archbishops Bagrat and Mikhail, Bishop Mikrech, the lay patron of the church, Samvel Karpatyan, and others. Make no mistake about it. What we witness today is nothing short of the forced Azerbaijanization of Armenia and its integration into the converging authoritarian, neo-Ottoman, and pan-Turkic worlds. The frequently proclaimed pivot to the democratic West appears to be a mirage. The ongoing gross violations of fundamental human rights and human dignity that accompany the process of Azerbaijanization bear witness to this grim reality. At this time of renewed national crisis, we should keep in mind the words of the prophet Jeremiah. He proclaimed, "They offer superficial treatments for my people's mortal wounds. They give assurances of peace when there is no peace." Tom Barak, the U.S. ambassador to Turkey and special envoy for Syria, seems to agree. He said, "When we say peace, it's an illusion. Somebody has to submit. There's no talk about reconciliation in this form of peace. It's submission to power. In this case, it's defeated Armenia that must submit. The peace on offer is based on the religious and ethnic cleansing of Armenians and political repression, coupled with the illusion of economic prosperity as the superficial treatment for the Armenian people's mortal wounds. Let us take the biblical words to heart, but let us not become despondent. Yes, the challenge is enormous, but be of good cheer. There is hope in the David versus Goliath struggle, hope in the eternal spirit of Armenia, the first Christian nation, hope in the steadfastness of the ANC, other organs of civil society, and the Armenian churches, hope in the many faithful non-Armenian Christians around the world who continue to stand in solidarity with that nation, hope in the mysterious power of our Christian faith. May the Almighty, the supreme authority over the powers and principles of the world, guide our collective efforts and bless and sustain the first Christian nation in these times of crisis. Thank you very much.